Hello, this is Steve Ramona, your host for Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I want to thank our sponsors, Infone, and with Infone, you can place your business on everybody's cell phone, turn their business into a web app, and with a click of a button, they'll have access to you 24/7. And also Pantheon.fm. Have you ever thought about monetizing and taking your podcast to the next level? Well, Pantheon can do that. Let us show you how. Reach out to Steve Ramona, the host, at infone.co/SR1, and I will go over with you how you can make your podcast really stand out. Let's enjoy the show. Thanks again, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona. And I'm really pumped up and excited for my next guest because we're going to talk about something that we avoid. And she helps you not avoid it, but to talk about it, bring it forefront in your life, whether it's personal or business. And I love these kind of guests because I feel your personal, collaborates with your professional and causes problems. And she can solve those problems. Maryann, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm really happy to be here. Yay!
I am too. And I got to say right off the bat, Sheltering Tree for your name of your business is so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was coming up with a name, the first impulse was about, just feeling comfortable sitting under the tree, taking the time to pause. But then the more I thought about it, the trees have such deep roots and you feel anchored. So it's the tree can be you as well. So when you allow yourself to go through it all, you take root.
Yeah, no, it's such a great metaphor. Congratulations. And that leads to what I mentioned in the introduction is grief. That's the thing we're going to talk about that I've avoided, and we know men avoid because we're emotionless. Men, I know you're going to, and I cried this morning. I got to be honest. I saw a picture, or we got a little paw print of our dog we put down 6 months ago. And before my workout, I just shed a chair, sat in the bathroom, and just thought about her. I'm going to tear up right now. She's very close to me. But let's talk about grief and how you handle that.
Well, I think the first thing, and probably the most important, is to let your feelings come out. As you just shared, Steve, that too often people want to know, when am I going to be over this? Or how long is it going to take? Or even when you think about business, how much time is allowed for bereavement? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week if it's your spouse. But that is nothing. So there's a tendency, well, what's wrong with me if I'm still feeling bad? So there's a covering it up, and that doesn't solve anything. What I would love to be able to do is for people to be able to talk without hesitancy, to acknowledge what's going on, and I'm sorry you're feeling the way you do. I don't really know what to say, but I'm here if you need to talk.
And I grew up, I'm 62, and I love what you're saying. And the word feelings I wrote down, that's big. When I grew up in an Italian family, not all Italian family, but as a man, my dad wasn't like this, but he was very tough and very strong. And you don't show your feelings, your emotions as a man. Right. Speak about that.
Well, we can go into the whole thing, the men versus women, but it's harder, yes, for men because of that masculinity. But the reality is every human being is designed to feel. And just because they don't come out doesn't mean they go away. So if there's anger that gets built up, or if feelings get pushed down, there is going to be a time when you explode. There is going to be a time when you break down, or you might even try to find a way to cover it up, to mask it. So I think just having the courage to be vulnerable with another man, if that is easier for you, or maybe being vulnerable with a woman because women are more touchy-feely.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
But there's something about trusting that this is the right thing to do.
So the phrase I hear, you don't show your weakness because then you're gonna not be strong.
Right. Well,
What's your answer to that?
there's a fear of uh, being seen as weak
Yeah.
or broken or not man enough. But really, it's more. It takes more courage to be vulnerable. There's power in that, because when you try and put up a front, it's just a facade. It's going to crumble sooner or later, and
Yeah.
you can't sustain that.
Right. And that's powerful message. And that's why you're here. I can't do that by myself.
Mhm.
Accountability is probably really important in grief management, isn't it?
It is. I think that there's something about being heard and acknowledged. That's why grief support groups exist. That's why it's helpful just to get a frame of reference around what it is you're feeling, or just to have someone hear you. Like, if you know someone whose spouse just died, you don't have to do anything to fix it, because you can't fix the situation. It's their spouse died. The best thing to do is offer to do something for them, or even just sit and just be with them, to allow them to speak if they want to, but don't force it, because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of time.
How
It's
many people, and I love the fact support, that's the word I wrote down. That
Mhm,
is a smaller word for what you're saying, which is better, these different ways. Yeah, because
mhm,
I see people all the time, networking. Oh my God, you lost your dog. Oh, what? Oh my God, it's so they've already got the feelings. They don't have to cover that, but be
yeah.
there to support them. How how important is people to define their grief, know what that is?
Could you? Uh,
So I mean, I'm grieving, I lost my spouse. Okay,
mhm.
they understand that, but I guess my question is understand how to handle that.
Well, I think the first thing is there's no pat way to experience grief. Everybody goes through it a little bit differently. The stages that you hear about, you know, the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief, actually refer to someone who is going to be dying. That's those are the stages. The 5 stages help you identify what you might experience,
Yeah.
but there's no order that you go in. You might It might take a month before you cry. There's It takes however long it takes, and there's really nothing, no getting over grief. It's learning how to live with it.
I love that answer because it's kind of a trick question. I hoped you went that way and you did, because this is not a cookie cutter 1+1 is 2. And
Right.
you
Right.
come to Maryann and in 1 month you'll be gone. 1 month you'll be it's different for everybody, right? Grief journey
Right.
is different.
Right. And there's a lot of different ways or reasons to grieve. Death is a very obvious one, whether it's a person or an animal. There's divorce and breakup. There's losing your job, or challenges with your finances or your business, or illness, yours or someone else's. It could be maybe a parent with dementia. It could be a child with a mental challenge or drug addiction. Or, that there's a lot of different things that you can be grieving. And if you pause for just a minute, everybody is grieving something. I don't think it could be something that happened recently, or it could be something that happened years ago that they never dealt with. There was one of my early clients who I met at a networking meeting, and she knew what I did, and she came up to me during the meeting and said, "I think I need to work with you. I'm crying all the time." And it turns out her father had died when she was 13. She didn't get to go to his funeral. She was told to be strong for her mother and help her mother take care of her little brother. And she never got to grieve the death of her dad. So after about a year together, she worked through all of that and now has her own business, and she laughs and smiles. She's not crying all the time. So
Beautiful.
that's an example of the tears still being inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
She felt the heaviness.
And that's a great story and great ending. And that leads to the thought in my head is, you said it's fear, grief brings fear. We don't want to talk about it. How does somebody connect with you? What's the tips? I want to talk to Maryann, but I don't want to talk about it. Is there anything you could say to say, hey, listener, reach out to me.
Hmm.
I can
Well,
help you.
the first Thursday of every month, I have a virtual coffee break at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. We spend an hour. It's on Zoom, so you have to register. It's not just an open free form on Facebook. You have to register and come. And I always have a little curated conversation about something specific. So that is a great way to get to know me, to get to know a little bit about how I work. And in addition to that, people can reach out and just have a half-hour conversation.
That's great.
And then from there, hearing what the situation is, I can make recommendations or suggest how we might work together.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I glad you mentioned the workshop, because that might be a safe place, and maybe one-on-one might be safe, because I really want people to talk to you, because it is, with COVID especially, grief's rampant everywhere. I mean, my wife works at Trader Joe's, and still women are coming in for the first time in 3 years to a grocery store. So fearful. Yeah. And
Yeah.
still putting, they're bagging up their groceries. So they have to take them out to scan. I mean, there's still this big, and we're not critiquing them. We're not judging. I'm not at all. But that's fear and grief that you can handle. Let's do a shout out. How can people reach you so they can do a one-on-one or learn more about the workshop?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, yourshelteringtree.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, Maryann Udel. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram on Instagram, my handle's at yourshelteringtree, and on Facebook, my name, my personal name.
And the website's beautiful. I'm going to shout out. I looked at it earlier today. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. And I'm going to do something, because I just dealt with grief this morning. I mean, you're right. We deal with it. I love hearing your suggestions. I'm sure people are listening. So this is what I'm going to do. The
Okay.
first 5 people that reach out to you, I'm going to give them a $20 Amazon gift card.
Whoa.
So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and say that's how important it is to me. And money's energy, and we know that. But I want people to reach out, because I know you can help them. It's a unique thing that you do, because people, insurance and deal with all that, and maybe it's like, you know what? Maybe it's just somebody like you that's just a couple whatever that is, to make sure. I want people to reach out to you. So what Maryann will do, if you mention my name or the show, she'll send me your contact info. I just need your email, and I'll put a little note. Thank you for listening. And I'll send you, I did 3 this week, and people are like, oh my God, I didn't think you would do it. No, I'm going to do it. Because again, I believe in the universe. If I put energy out there, Maryann can help more people. So let her help you. Let's reach out to that. Reach out to her. So we talked in the green room, something very important to me is the crossover of personal grief with professional grief. You have professional grief, and it goes into your marriage, your relationships, your kids, and vice versa. I'd love for you to talk about that, how you handle that.
Well, when I've gone into companies, a couple of companies have used me as part of the exit package when they had to lay off a significant number of employees, because the whole feeling of being rejected, dejected, oh my God, I don't have a job. What am I going to do now? They need to get all of that stuff. So there would be sessions with me to help them get clear before moving on, and it also helps eliminate potential lawsuits, because you diffuse the situation. They give them an outlet to share the emotions. There's a way to look at things that are happening within a company, challenges that are being faced, a merger and acquisition. So nobody knows what's going on. There's looking at, but that isn't how we always used to do it. You have to release that. Acknowledge what the reality is now. Yes, you have to mourn the past, what was, and acknowledge what's now. because the only way you can create tomorrow is from the reality of today. You can't create it from what it used to be because it's evolved and changed. So it's going through that acknowledgement. And sometimes teams need to have an open discussion about it. Maybe there are resentments or fears that are not being acknowledged when the manager's in the room. Maybe it's a discussion with the team that can be, and the results can be shared anonymously with the lead, because there's fear. Oh, I'm going to lose my job if I say anything, or HR is going to write me up. So I can provide a confidential, safe resource for, it's an additional thing for HR, for what HR offers.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the word that comes to my head is open to change, and you help with that.
Yes.
And that's so important, because if you didn't pivot during COVID, you're probably out of business. And that's open to change. If you're not open to change, you're not going to pivot. And of course, we know the dominoes that fall with that. And people, you're going to realize Steve's a movie guy. So George Clooney did a movie. I don't remember. He flew around, and that's what he did.
Up in the air.
Up in the air. Thank you. So you did see it. And it was interesting to me that you mentioned that, because I think that's something that's the hardest thing to do, is to let somebody go, right?
Right. Actually, at one point, I was an employee that got laid off, and I got my notice via FedEx.
Oh.
I was out of town on vacation, and when I came back, there was a FedEx envelope waiting for me.
I would guess that's not the right way Maryann would teach you to do it.
Well, you have to deliver the message, but figure out how to have some compassion for whoever is laying off.
And I'm going to guess on this. I would think the bigger companies may follow that route more than the smaller companies, or am I off base on that?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the leaders.
Yeah, leaders.
That I think that, just the name of your podcast, if you are concerned and care about your employees, you'll have a discussion and say, this is the reality of what's going on right now. We're not bringing in enough money, so I'm going to have to lay some people off. I don't want to, but I want you to know it's nothing personal. That's where the vulnerability comes in. That's where the transparency comes in. That's where acknowledgement. I feel awful about this, but sometimes leaders have to make hard decisions.
The true leaders do. And that's the power of you, Maryann. And I'm going to put this out there, it really enlightens the audience and me. I'm a company. I lay off. I'm the person that doesn't lay off. I lay off 10 people. I have 10 griefs happening. Yeah. I need to talk to you, go, okay, they're yelling at me. They're swearing at me. Guy threw a book at me, whatever.
Right.
That's where you could come in and really support that person or the company.
Yes. Okay. It's supporting the leader, because the decisions they have to make. Sometimes there's a lot of buffer in between the leader and the layoff notice. HR. I've done a lot of work with HR departments, because they're the ones that get the brunt of it. They do the hiring, but they also have to deliver all of the bad things. They do the write-ups, and they give you the warnings, and then they present you with the layoff stuff.
Yeah, that is so true. It's amazing. We're talking about grief, and we just come up like 3 or 4 stories that happens. So in the beginning, when you said everybody has grief and we have it all the time, I mean, I think we can pick 10, 11, 15 other stories that led to grief, whether it's small or big. And that's a great question. Somebody goes, Maryann, I got a little small grief here. I failed my test to get my license to be a health insurance agent. Can you still help?
Sure. It's just, it probably wouldn't take as long, but the first thing to do is acknowledge the feeling, or let the feelings out, whatever they are. And then, okay, I did that. So what's the reality? Accept whatever the reality is. Okay, I failed it, but I can take it again. Or the next test is so down the road. So you then have a goal I'm going to try again by this date. And then you take action. So there's 4 steps. You allow the feelings, you acknowledge and accept the reality, you adjust your focus, which be placing your goal, and then you take action.
Yeah.
And those 4 steps are simple, but not easy.
No, and that because I could see people thinking, I kind of think, okay, this is not a really big thing that's causing me grief. It's caused me a little bit of grief, but that lead to he takes the test again, fails, takes the test again, fails, and then walks away from insurance career because he can't pass, and it was because his grief of failing so many times, being upset.
Right.
That and that's what I love.
Right. So
That's
it could be that part of adjusting your goal is maybe I need to get some help. Maybe I need to talk to somebody who can help me where I'm not seeing the right answers.
right.
Maybe I need a little more training about,
Yeah,
so I can pass the test.
yeah.
Or maybe I'm only doing it because my parents told me this is what I have to do.
That's exactly. I love that.
Why am I failing?
Yeah, because they're forcing me. Yeah, no, I can see that. And that leads to the action. So grief can cause no decision or making the wrong decision, in a sense.
Well, I think knowing why you're doing something
Yeah,
helps. You, I think, depending on the kind of grief you're talking about,
yeah.
when you're in the early stages of a grief, you don't want to make any big decisions because your thinking is not clear. You're you're not only emotionally uh, engaged in your grief, you're mentally and physically there. You have strains and brain fog, and your body will hurt, and you'll be tired and depressed, and you won't know. It's very difficult to think clearly. Even somebody who's going through a divorce, they might be so consumed with anger that that they see red everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. We know a few people like that, and it's just something they need to. It's a problem they need to fix.
Mhm.
What would you, since you know a ton about grief? I've learned so much. So, what would you tell the 18-year-old Maryann that you've learned up to this point that you could tell the 18-year-old Maryann about grief?
You'll get through it. That don't let it stop you. That everything you feel changes. Nothing's forever.
Hope and faith; those are powerful.
Mhm.
You get me very excited because, again, I'm going to deal with grief sometime, and we're running out of time here. The last question I have for you is: if somebody reaches out to you and says, "I never have grief, but I just want to talk to you," what would you say to them?
Tell me a little bit about your life. Why did you want to talk to me? They might not even be, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
And they might be afraid to acknowledge they might be grieving.
yeah. No, that's yeah, and that's where your power of you is. You can bring that out. Maybe they cry, they get upset, whatever, but you want to get their emotion out. If they cry, they get mad and upset. That's good for you, for
Yeah.
your when you work with
They
people.
don't necessarily have to get emotional when they talk to me,
Yeah,
but I think just being comfortable enough to trust me to talk freely and honestly.
I like that. And this is why I did the podcast with Maryann. This is one of the biggest servants I could say. I'm so excited about this show. We're running out of time, but because, as you said, grief's everybody. This is like breathing. We're going to have grief sometime in our life, multiple times, less than others, but it just comes.
Mhm.
And you could build a skill set with this. So you help with my grief today. We're in, for 6 months we work together. But I find another grief down the road. Do you develop a skill set for me so I can handle that better?
Sure. Everything that I do, it's not telling you what to do, it's leading you forward. And it's just, these are some tools that you can help yourself with. You know, that what do you do when you get upset? What do you do? Oh, yes, I need to feel. I'm going to journal now. You know, you find out what works for you because everybody has something, another tool that works better for them than others.
You help them find the tool, and that's so powerful. That's a game changer, listeners. What you just heard just now, game changer for life and your business. Just, I'm going to say it. I'm going to shout it to the world because this is going to get to my world because I want people to see it. Thank you for being on. You are an absolute blessing to the
Thank you.
world. And I want to get this out as many people. Please reach out to her. If you don't get an Amazon gift card, just reach out because that's going to be your reward, talking to Maryann and learning about this. I want you all to think when you've had grief and you could fix that grief or support it with Maryann's help, how much better you would be. Just think about that. And with that being said, you gave us a lot of golden nuggets. I've got a whole page here of great notes.
Mhm.
What is one tip that you can leave the audience that can help them in their journey?
Mhm. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Mhm.